What up, world? Welcome to another episode of Blunt Talk Quick Takes. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and sunny confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check Blunt Talk Quick Takes exclusively here on Podbean. However, if you're looking to catch further content from the show, you can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, and as well as on Trovo. Happy to be back with you guys on this beautiful May 27th, 2025. We're doing a live stream episode again for Blunt Talk Quick Takes. I hope you guys enjoyed your Memorial Day. And like I said, salute to the soldiers and to people and relatives out there that I know I have in the military, and salute to yours as well. Happy to be here another episode. This episode, we're going to be detailing the NBA playoff recaps, games 3 of the Pacers and Knicks, and game 4 of the Timberwolves and Thunder. So pretty much going to recap those games, and on top of recapping those, of course, we'll also touch on some of the latest NBA trade rumor news. A lot of things to unpack there. Like I said, happy to be here on another blessed day to be here with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get started, we always like to give a shout out to our friends of the show. First one today would be StubHub. StubHub right now has a beautiful sale going on for the NBA playoffs. There is a creative ID link that will be in the description box of this video for New York Knicks tickets and Indiana Pacers tickets, Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder tickets. Also, if you're looking to get on, if you're not really in the sports thing, but you really want to get on the music scene, I have a creative ID link for the Beyonce tour currently right now, Benson Boone, and also Kendrick Lamar and SZA. So definitely make sure you want to get onto that. I will have that in the description box and the link with that in the video. Also, for Viagogo, for my UK subscribers and my people out there in the UK and abroad, we still got tickets for Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan coming up May 31st. Definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to be a beautiful game this coming weekend. Also for Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, Tomorrowland 2025, and Oasis. So definitely make sure you get those tickets. Definitely make sure you do something with your weekend. As always, StubHub and Viagogo, the number 1 and 2 leading resellers and ticket sellers for live events, shows, and concerts. And for my PlayStation subscribers and my diehard gamers out there, definitely check within the description box of this video for a link to PlayStation Direct, Sony PlayStation, more than a game. All right, guys. Like I said, I gave it a couple of days. I did drop some shorts relating to the NBA games. I will say this before I jump into my analysis and the recap of the games. This has been a very exciting NBA playoffs. I'm sad it almost has to end. We're coming down to, literally the last couple of games before we get to the finals. It has been tremendous to watch these playoffs. I mean, to watch these games, to watch these teams go at it. It's something that I have been dying for a long time, but then watching the NBA was parity, and we're getting it this full season, and it has made the game interesting, especially if you're really a basketball fan and you really just like good, exciting basketball, and you like to see X's and O's and adjustments and things of that nature. It just makes the game even better. That being said, like I said, we're going to get into the recap from the game from the other night, which was the Knicks and Pacers, which the Knicks were able to pull out this game 106 to 100. Now, this game was Sunday night. Now, I must say this to you. I was beyond fucking shocked watching this game. For the most part of the game, it started off tight. It was a defensive battle. Both teams were playing like this was the most important game in the series, which again, spectacular. We've kind of, I will say for Knicks and Pacers basketball this NBA postseason, you've kind of gotten that just each time you watch their games, especially their game 3 or 4s. It just felt like they played with so much intensity that you knew that it was going to be a fight. Now, starting out the game, neither teams were shooting well from 3. That obviously being an issue because both teams like to take a lot of threes. For example, New York took 32 in this game. The Pacers took 25. So that's actually, minimal amount compared to what most teams take, but still a lot for those teams that don't really, especially the Knicks who aren't known for 3-point shooting. All that being said, as you're going a bit further and you look, the Pacers were really taking it to the Knicks. The Pacers had this game in hand. They were up by 20 plus at one point. And you just kind of felt like if New York didn't respond, this game was going to get out of hand very quickly and it was going to end badly for the Knicks. And they were going to be down 3-1. 3-0. That being said, the second half was just even crazier because you saw New York was slowly starting to chip away from halftime on forward. You saw they were kind of starting to make it a little bit of a fight. They were still turning the ball over at a high rate. Just to give you an idea, New York had 14 turnovers in this game. in comparison to Indiana's 12. So two more, but just sloppy basketball. Karl-Anthony Towns had 6 turnovers. You had Jalen Brunson had 3 turnovers. It's just very rough. Just didn't look good. When you got guys turning the ball over like that, especially in a must-win game, just put you in a bad spot, put you in a bad situation. So the Knicks were trying. It almost felt like the Knicks were trying to get the game away. That being said, Pacers were killing the Knicks in fast break points. TJ McConnell came off the bench was playing well, but it just seemed like the Knicks and Karl-Anthony Towns, they just would not die. And I got to give Cat credit because Cat definitely led the charge. He had 24 points, 15 rebounds. He's 3 of 7 from 3-point range, but most importantly, he was 8 of 17 from the field. So that efficiency was definitely there. When he plays like that, the Knicks are very hard to stop. And then it fueled a 23-7 run. I mean, and Karl-Anthony Towns could not be stopped. Definitely wanted to make sure I gave him credit for that. He had a lot of help too from OG and Anunoby. And Anunoby had 16 points, 4 of 6 from 3-point range, 6 of 9 from the field. So again, outstanding from that aspect. Also Mikal Bridges, kind of came on late in the game, 15 points, 6 of 18 from the field, not great, definitely bad from 3-point range, but scoring late was definitely what they needed from him, and he definitely supplied that. And you just saw that the Knicks were slowly building the lead, and Indiana just kept missing shots. And it happens. You knew they were going to run into a buzzsaw at some point or run into a wall, physically either get gassed or just start missing shots. It's just a rhythm thing. But nonetheless, Siakam was hitting a lot of big shots for Indiana. He kept the Pacers in the game for the most part. And then especially with Brunson and Cat both getting in foul trouble, both having 5 fouls apiece, you kind of felt like that recipe, was the recipe for disaster was being cooked up. The writing was on the wall that the Pacers were going to win. But all credit to the Knicks. They maintained that small lead thanks to Josh Hart. And, it was a dogfight to the end, but ultimately the Knicks were able to survive and get the victory. And that was what was going to be needed. Now, Aaron Nesmith did get injured in this game. He had an ankle injury. He was questionable to return. I'm very interested to see how he and Cat will be. Because they both had some injuries that they were dealing with in this game. This has been a physical series. It's been, in my opinion, the Eastern Conference, surprisingly, has been the more exciting, conference in the NBA this year. And I'm not like the first round was kind of a little bit sleepy for the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference, to me, the first and second round were more exciting. However, if you're really gauging the second round of the playoffs up until now, the Eastern Conference has had it. I mean, whether it was the Boston Knicks series, I mean, even all the Knicks playoff series, honestly, have been interesting. Whether it was Detroit, New York, whether it was Boston, New York, and now it's Indiana, New York. But yeah, the Eastern Conference has just definitely been delivering a very exciting brand of basketball this postseason. And it's been a beautiful thing to see. And like I said, that game 4 will be tonight. So it starts at 8 p.m. So definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. We are definitely getting a very beautiful series. And I just cannot wait to see the rest of this play out and see what happens in the pivotal game 4 tonight. Having said all that, we're going to now fast forward to last night's game, which was Oklahoma City versus Minnesota. Oklahoma City showing their poise and their resolve and their reserve, and pulling out the victory 128-126. On the backs of SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. This team is just proving why they are the best in the Western Conference. They are proving why they were the number 1 seed. They're proving why they belonged in this spot. It has just been amazing to watch this team grow this postseason, to watch these young guys grow. First of all, let me just say this. You're starting off the first half of the game. It's a tight game. Both teams are bringing the intensity. You kind of felt like it was going to be a dogfight all the way through. That being said, both teams were shooting well from 3-point range early on. Minnesota was turning the ball over, which has been a theme for them all postseason, which I definitely want to touch on in this game. Minnesota, they have been turning the ball over rampantly throughout this postseason, and they did it a lot in the second round. And they got away with it against the Warriors, and they're doing it now, and it's costing them against Oklahoma City. Just to give you an idea, they had 21 turnovers in comparison to Oklahoma City's 14. So that just gives you an idea, a dichotomy of what's really been a problem for Minnesota throughout this whole postseason. Just been very careless with the basketball. They both teams had a physical approach, which I thought was monumental and very strategic and imperative for this game because whoever was the more physical team was going to win. And you could kind of see that this wasn't going to be the Oklahoma City team that got blown out by 40 plus points in game 2, so game 3, excuse me. So it definitely was impressive to see that. And then by halftime, it was a fight, but again, good game. Second half, it just seemed like the dogfight intensified. Both teams weren't letting up. I mean, the back and forth was insane. You had Jay McDaniels from the Timberwolves going off. You had Dante DiVincenzo playing his part. Nickel Alexander Walker. A lot of the bench guys and reserve guys were definitely playing their parts. The guy who really wasn't, though, was Anthony Edwards. I do not know what the fuck was going on with him yet last night. 16 points, 5 of 13 from the field, 1 of 7 from three. I mean, that's horrible. That's horrible. You're playing the best team in the Western Conference, and this is another postseason where we have to address this. This is another postseason where defensive sets, whether it be exhaustion, shot output, whatever it is, the defensive sets have given him problems. He had to play Luka last year in the Western Conference Finals. Anthony Edwards naturally got wore down doing that. Now this year, he's defending a very athletic team that can shoot from the wing and can definitely kick it into the interior and score. And it just seems like whether it's just a defensive effort, I don't know. I don't know. Because he has been playing defense, so we'll give him that. But 5 turnovers, careless with the ball, not putting up good shots, not really getting good shot selection. It's not a good thing at all. And I mean, especially if you're Anthony Edwards and your team is banking on you, especially to try to carry on to advance. This is not the performance you definitely wanted to see from him. Again, it was something I did think that 3-point shooting was something that was going to be pivotal down the stretch for both teams, and it was. I got to give the Timberwolves credit. They were 43, almost 44%, essentially 44% from 3-point range. The Oklahoma City Thunder were 43%. Going a bit further, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, because I want to make sure I touch on them and how these guys have grown so much through this postseason. Jalen Williams, 34 points. I mean, listen to this, guy. 6 of 9 from 3-point range, 13 of 24 from the field. Literally becoming the Robin to SGA's Batman. This is what they needed. They needed this growth. They needed this growth tremendously for them to be able to advance, and they're getting it. Chet Holmgren, again, I'd be remiss if I don't give him his props. 21 points, 7 rebounds, 2 of 4 from 3, which definitely is something he's been struggling with a little bit through the Nuggets series and in this series. But the 3 ball was there for him last night, and he was hella efficient from the field, not a 14 from the field, and he played defense. I mean, he was able to get 3 blocks, which I think was tremendous. He also had a steal. But like I said, the way these guys, the way this Thunder team is playing, it's just been outstanding. And SGA, I mean, video game like fucking numbers here. 40 points, 10 assists, double-double, 13 of 30 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. Now, his 3-ball wasn't there, but hella efficient from the field. And the team will definitely take that. And again, he was in foul trouble yesterday. Lou Dort wound up fouling out. SGA wasn't that far behind him. He had 4 fouls. So for him to play that type of game and to be playing defense and to get in that foul trouble and still have that type of performance, it just really showed you that the MVP was really justified for him. And this young man is really trying to secure a spot in the NBA Finals and really trying to do the impossible or the unthinkable for such a young team. So I got to give SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren their credit. And it just really felt like every time Minnesota was getting close, Oklahoma City pulled away with another big shot. He wound up, and ultimately the Thunder secured the victory, wound up going up 3-1. This series is over. I really felt like Minnesota had to win last night for this series to go 7 games and to really be a thing. But I just ultimately feel like it cannot continue. They cannot continue. They played, Ant-Man's played decently and they haven't won. You got support from your bench guys and it wasn't enough. It's the turnovers. The turnovers, now the 3-ball's falling, but you can't stop turning the ball over. So this series is over. You got to give, Ant-Man and them credit for getting back to the Western Conference Finals. But for them to make that next step, they're definitely going to have to make major adjustments and to have to make some major wholesale changes, potentially to this roster for them to really make that next step. And before we wrap this episode up, I definitely want to touch on potential NBA trade rumors. Yes, guys, draft lottery's coming up. The trade season's coming up. So, let's go ahead and get to talking about it now. A lot of things that I was unpacking over the weekend. Now, first, we'll start off with the Giannis sweepstakes. Everybody wants to know where Mr. Antetokounmpo is might potentially be landed. A lot of this information I'm giving you is via Bleacher Report. I will have this in the description box of this video, so you can check the link out there for yourself. Essentially, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. With Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to definitely try to help looking Giannis out, but they're not really concerned about looking Giannis out. They're concerned more importantly about, quote, being out for blood. So they're going to really try to recoup as much as they possibly can, in spite of losing a guy of that caliber. When you lose a Hall of Fame or a champion, a guy that's a perennial all-star, I understand. You got to get as much as you can. So no hate in my blood against the Bucks for that. Interesting one here. The Philadelphia 76ers. Is Paul George staying? For the short answer, it is yes. There has not been any trade market for him. They have not tried to trade him. However, I would contest, as the report stated, this would not be the summer to trade Paul George. I think you try to give it another go with a healthy Maxey, a healthy Embiid. That's a joke in itself, but try to see if these guys can be any type of healthy this coming season. See what that, brings to fruition for your roster. And then if things don't work out, maybe then you're able to possibly trade Paul George, but there's no way in hell they're going to be able to trade Paul George after that fucking dumpster fire of a season that he just came off of with that team. So that's definitely out of the question. Sorry, Sixers fans, but it's the truth. Also, the Clippers. The Clippers are definitely in an interesting spot. They're kind of in that what I quote rat bastard situation where they can't really get rid of guys, and if they do get rid of guys, they can't really bring anybody in currently at this moment to fix them. Just shows you how much of a monumental loss it was getting rid of SGA for Paul George. That being said, they can't move James Harden. Nobody's going to take James Harden. Everybody knows that this man is a walking albatross. Through the regular season, he'll put up great, numbers, possible triple double, and then in game 6 or 7s in the NBA playoffs, he'll disappear for 7 points and some of the worst shooting performances you could possibly see ever by an NBA superstar. So that being said, they're not going to be able to move James Harden. They're going to have to, at best, be able to grab mid-level stars and potential bench players to try to refortify this roster. They're in a situation where they're going to have to rock out with this roster for at least another year or two. Outside of that, there's not really any chance that they may have of getting a real huge injection of youth to really incorporate the next chapter after Kawhi and James Harden. And last but not least, Jrue Holiday, the true OG, the veteran point guard, is garnering a lot of attention, obviously, after the Celtics loss to the Knicks. I mean, with the Tatum injury, that's kind of changed the projection and trajectory of this team currently at this moment. So right now, Jrue Holiday is drawing a lot of interest from the Mavs, also here in the Sacramento Kings, but more importantly, a lot of win now ready teams. So we'll see how that all plays out. Jrue Holiday he didn't have a great year last year. He didn't come off one of his worst successful seasons. However, I do feel like in a different system with good players around him, just like he had in Boston, he could definitely, in Milwaukee, he could definitely add veteran presence and championship experience to a team. And that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I thank you guys for always watching and listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care and enjoy the rest.